Good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Patmos. It is April 22nd, and I am fired up tonight. Please refer to the video I did a couple of days ago about rabies and rabies testing, and the concern that I had as to why CDC office that manages rabies has been gutted financially and has suspended rabies testing. Well, the answer became obvious today when Kennedy was testifying before Congress, and he said that there's only 1 to 3 cases of rabies a year in the United States, so I think only one person can handle that workload. Here's what the raccoon eater in chief doesn't understand. By the way, he eats roadkill, in case you didn't know that, including raccoons. Uh, Here's the problem. He doesn't understand rabies. That's the problem. He doesn't have any medical background, and so for that reason, he doesn't understand the disease. Rabies, for those of you who don't know, is a neurotropic virus. Once you get rabies and you develop symptoms, it's 100% fatal. There is no treatment for rabies. It is a horrible, horrible death. There's videos on YouTube showing what it's like to die of rabies. Tens of thousands of people die from rabies around the world every year. It's not a disease of antiquity. In the United States, we've got it down to 1 to 3 deaths per year, but that's because of CDC's activities, which Kennedy is now gutting. Um, See, there used to be thousands of cases of rabies in the United States uh, because it was endemic in the wild dog population. Basically, stray dogs had rabies. People would get bit by them, and then they'd get rabies and die. And so that's why rabies man, mandatory. Let me say it again. So you get mandatory vaccination of animals in dogs and cats became the law of the land. And so that eliminated the host reservoir in those animals. However, the host reservoir remains in wild animals like raccoons and bats and foxes and wolves and other wild animals, which are commonly infected with rabies. If you get bit by a wild wolf or a wild bat or fox, you better well be tested for rabies. But you can't anymore because CDC isn't testing anymore because Kennedy cut the funding. So he thinks that one person can handle the whole thing. So there may only be 1, 2, or 3 deaths in the United States from rabies every year, but 50,000 people are exposed to rabies and get post exposure vaccine prophylaxis after their exposure. And about 90,000 specimens are tested every year for rabies in the United States by the CDC. That includes specimens prior to organ transplantation, oh, by the way, which we no longer do. So, thanks to the raccoon eater in chief, we no longer test for rabies. No one else does. The CDC is the only place you can get rabies specimens tested. And there'll be 90,000 fewer tests. There'll be no tests. And the 50,000 people who are exposed every year to rabies will have to guess as to whether or not they should get uh, prophylaxis because there's no way to test the animal that bit them because CDC isn't doing the test anymore because Kennedy cut the funding. So, what this will mean is that some people will be exposed and will have to make a decision about whether or not to take the treatment, even if they don't know if the animal that bit them or that they were exposed to was rabid or not. It's going to mean some people will be treated unnecessarily. Some people may elect not to be treated and make a mistake, and they should have been. Animals that we're concerned about, maybe having been rabid, won't be tested. And patients who are organ donors who die of encephalitis, unexplained encephalitis, won't be tested. It'll be luck of the draw as to whether or not you get an organ from someone who died of encephalitis that might actually have been rabies and it was unrecognized. This is exactly why, I am on a, this is my soapbox. Unqualified people should not be put into positions of power. If you're in a position of power with health and health policy, you need to be qualified. Robert Kennedy is not qualified. He's a lawyer. He's an environmental lawyer. He has no background in science and health. He should be anywhere near the office that he's in as Secretary of Health and Human Services. He obviously knows nothing about medicine and biology and disease. And this is a perfect example of it. What will happen here? Now, fortunately, because rabies vaccine is mandatory for dogs and cats, we will keep rabies in the wild animal population. But now, if you happen to be exposed to a wild animal like a bat or a raccoon, there is no way to know if that animal has rabies. So flip a coin. Should you prophylax or not? You don't know. You'll find out if you if you decide not to, and the animal was rabid. You'll find out in a few months when you start to die of rabies. So it's not just with Kennedy, it's across the board in the Trump administration. None of the doctors that he has appointed have the proper qualifications. And Kennedy isn't a doctor at all. Why do we have an environmental lawyer running health and human services in the United States? A guy who clearly doesn't understand rabies at all. This is the worst decision. Is an absolutely the most stupid decision I can't think of a more stupid. Well, I can. Joseph Ladapo, the Surgeon General in Florida, who told parents of children, unvaccinated children exposed to measles, don't worry about it. Let them go to school. That's fine. Now we have thousands of measles cases around the United States. So I guess that's a toss up. Which is the dumber of the two decisions? Kennedy's decision to stop rabies testing, or Ladapo's decision to tell parents, go ahead, send your unvaccinated, measles exposed children to school to infect other kids. Yeah.